Waiting on God, the Almighty One. They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with eagle wings. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. Waiting always partakes of the character of our thoughts of the one on whom we wait. Our waiting on God will depend greatly on our faith of what He is. In our text, we have the close of a passage in which God reveals Himself as the everlasting and Almighty One. It is as that revelation enters our soul that the waiting will become the spontaneous expression of what we know Him to be, a God altogether most worthy to be waited upon. Listen to the words, "Why sayest thou, O Jacob, my way is hid from the Lord? Why speakest thou as if God doth not hear or help? Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting One, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? So far from it, He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might He increaseth strength. Even the youths, the glory of young men is their strength. Even the youths shall faint, and the young men shall utterly fall. All that is accounted strong with man shall come to naught. But they that wait on the Lord, on the everlasting One, who fainteth not, neither is weary, they shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and, listen now, they shall be strong with the strength of God, even as He shall not be weary. They shall walk, and, even as He, not faint. Yes, they shall mount up with wings as eagles. You know what eagle's wings mean. The eagle is the king of birds. It soars the highest into the heavens. Believers are to live a heavenly life in the very presence and love and joy of God. They are to live where God lives. They need God's strength to rise there. To them that wait on Him, it shall be given. You know how eagle's wings are obtained, only in one way, by the eagle birth. You are born of God. You have the eagle's wings. You may not have known it, you may not have used them, but God can and will teach you to use them. You know how the eagles are taught the use of their wings. See yonder cliff rising 1,000 feet out of the sea. See high up a ledge on the rock where there is an eagle's nest with its treasure, 2 young eaglets. See the mother bird come and stir up her nest, and with her beak push the timid birds over the precipice. See how they flutter and fall and sink toward the depth. See now, Deuteronomy 32, verse 11, how she fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings, and so, as they ride upon her wings, brings them to a place of safety. And so she does once and again, each time casting them out over the precipice, and then again taking and carrying them. So the Lord alone did lead him. Yes, the instinct of that eagle mother was God's gift, a single ray of that love in which the Almighty trains His people to mount as on eagle's wings. He stirs up your nest. He disappoints your hopes. He brings down your confidence. He makes you fear and tremble as all your strength fails, and you feel utterly weary and helpless. And all the while, He is spreading His strong wings for you to rest your weakness on, and offering His everlasting Creator strength to work in you. And all He asks is that you should sink down in your weariness and wait on Him, and allow Him in His Jehovah strength to carry as you ride upon the wings of His omnipotence. Dear child of God, I pray you, lift up your eyes and behold your God. Listen to Him who saith that He fainteth not, neither is weary, who promiseth that you too shall not faint or be weary, who asketh naught but this one thing, that you should wait on Him. And let your answer be, with such a God, so mighty, so faithful, so tender, my soul, wait thou only upon God. waiting on God who waits on us. And therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you. And therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. We must not only think of our waiting upon God, but also of what is more wonderful still, of God's waiting upon us. The vision of him waiting on us will give new impulse and inspiration to our waiting upon him. It will give an unspeakable confidence that our waiting cannot be in vain. If he waits for us, then we may be sure that we are more than welcome, that he rejoices to find those he has been seeking for. Let us seek, even now, at this moment, in the spirit of lowly waiting on God, to find out something of what it means. Therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you. We shall accept and echo back the message, blessed are all they that wait for him. Look up and see the great God upon his throne. He is love, an unceasing and inexpressible desire to communicate his own goodness and blessedness to all his creatures. He longs and delights to bless. He has inconceivably glorious purposes concerning every one of his children by the power of his Holy Spirit to reveal in them his love and power. He waits with all the longings of a father's heart. He waits that he may be gracious unto you. And each time you come to wait upon him, or seek to maintain in daily life the holy habit of waiting, you may look up and see him ready to meet you, waiting that he may be gracious unto you. Yes, connect every exercise, every breath of the life of waiting with faith's vision of your God waiting for you. And if you ask, how is it, if he waits to be gracious, that even after I come and wait upon him, he does not give the help I seek, but waits on longer and longer? There is a double answer. The one is this: God is a wise husbandman, who waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it. He cannot gather the fruit till it is ripe. He knows when we are spiritually ready to receive the blessing to our profit and his glory. Waiting in the sunshine of his love is what will ripen the soul for his blessing. If God waits longer than you could wish, it is only to make the blessing doubly precious. God waited 4,000 years till the fullness of time ere he sent his Son. Our times are in his hands. He will avenge his elect speedily. He will make haste for our help and not delay 1 hour too long. The other answer points to what has been said before. The giver is more than the gift. God is more than the blessing, and our being kept waiting on him is the only way for our learning to find our life and joy in himself. Oh, if God's children only knew what a glorious God they have, and what a privilege it is to be linked in fellowship with himself, then they would rejoice in him. Even when he keeps them waiting, they would learn to understand better than ever. Therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you. His waiting will be the highest proof of his graciousness. Blessed are all they that wait for him. Our Queen has her ladies in waiting. The position is one of subordination and service, and yet it is considered one of the highest dignity and privilege, because a wise and gracious sovereign makes them companions and friends. What a dignity and blessedness to be attendants in waiting on the everlasting God, ever on the watch for every indication of his will or favour, ever conscious of his nearness, his goodness, and his grace. The Lord is good to them that wait for him. Blessed are all they that wait for him. Yes, it is blessed when a waiting soul and a waiting God meet each other. God cannot do his work without his and our waiting his time. Let waiting be our work as it is his. And if his waiting be nothing but goodness and graciousness, let ours be nothing but a rejoicing in that goodness and a confident expectancy of that grace. And let every thought of waiting become to us simply the expression of unmingled and unutterable blessedness, because it brings us to a God who waits that he may make himself known to us perfectly as the gracious one. My soul, wait thou only upon God. Waiting on God as a God of judgment. Yea, in the way of thy judgments, O Lord, have we waited for thee. For when thy judgments are on the earth, the inhabitants of the world learn righteousness. Isaiah chapter 26, verses 8 and 9. The Lord is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. God is a God of mercy and a God of judgment. Mercy and judgment are ever together in his dealings. In the flood, in the deliverance of Israel out of Egypt, in the overthrow of the Canaanites, we ever see mercy in the midst of judgment. In these, the inner circle of his own people, we see it too. The judgment punishes the sin, while mercy saves the sinner. Or rather, mercy saves the sinner, not in spite of, but by means of, the very judgment that came upon his sin. In waiting on God, we must beware of forgetting this. As we wait, we must expect him as a God of judgment. In the way of thy judgments have we waited for thee. That will prove true in our inner experience. If we are honest in our longing for holiness, in our prayer to be wholly the Lord's, his holy presence will stir up and discover hidden sin, and bring us very low in the bitter conviction of the evil of our nature, its opposition to God's law, its impotence to fulfill that law. The words will come true, who may abide the day of his coming, for he is like a refiner's fire. Oh, that thou wouldst come down, as when the melting fire burneth. In great mercy God executes within the soul his judgments upon sin, as he makes it feel its wickedness and guilt. Many a one tries to flee from these judgments. The soul that longs for God and for deliverance from sin bows under them in humility and in hope. In silence of soul it says, Arise, O Lord, and let thine enemies be scattered. In the way of thy judgments we have waited for thee. Let no one who seeks to learn the blessed art of waiting on God wonder if at first the attempt to wait on him only discovers more of his sin and darkness. Let no one despair because unconquered sins or evil thoughts or great darkness appear to hide God's face. Was not in his own beloved Son the gift and bearer of his mercy on Calvary, the mercy as hidden and lost in the judgment? Oh, submit and sink down deep under the judgment of thine every sin. Judgment prepares the way and breaks out in wonderful mercy. It is written, Thou shalt be redeemed with judgment. Wait on God in the faith that his tender mercy is working out in thee his redemption in the midst of judgment. Wait for him. He will be gracious to thee. There is another application still, one of unspeakable solemnity. We are expecting God in the way of his judgments to visit this earth. We are waiting for him. What a thought! We know of these coming judgments. We know that there are tens of thousands of our professing Christians who live on in carelessness, and who, if no change come, must perish under God's hand. Oh, shall we not do our utmost to warn them, to plead with and for them, if God may have mercy on them? If we feel our want of boldness, want of zeal, want of power, shall we not begin to wait on God more definitely and persistently as a God of judgment, asking him so to reveal himself in the judgments that are coming on our very friends, that we may be inspired with a new fear of him and them, and constrained to speak and pray as never yet? Verily, waiting on God is not meant to be a spiritual self-indulgence. Its object is to let God and his holiness, Christ and the love that died on Calvary, the spirit and fire that burns in heaven and came to earth get possession of us to warn and rouse men with the message that we are waiting for God in the way of his judgments. O Christian, prove that you really believe in the God of judgment. My soul, wait thou only upon God. Waiting on God to reveal himself. And it shall be said in that day, Lo, this is our God. We have waited for him, and he will save us. This is the Lord. We have waited for him. We will rejoice and be glad in his salvation. Isaiah chapter 25, verse 9. In this passage, we have two precious thoughts. The one, that it is the language of God's people who have been unitedly waiting on him. The other, that the fruit of their waiting has been that God has so revealed himself that they could joyfully say, Lo, this is our God, this is the Lord. The power and the blessing of united waiting is what we need to learn. Note the twice repeated, we have waited for him. In some time of trouble, the hearts of the people had been drawn together, and they had, ceasing from all human hope or help, with one heart set themselves to wait for their God. Is not this just what we need in our churches and conventions and prayer meetings? Is not the need of the church and the world great enough to demand it? Are of his Spirit most certainly seem the needed blessing? We cannot doubt it. The object of a more definite waiting upon God in our gatherings would be very much the same as in personal worship. It would mean a deeper conviction that God must and will do all, a more humble and abiding entrance into our deep helplessness and the need of entire and unceasing dependence upon him.